one, now taking an early lead up against Beasty. Beasty, who of course has chosen Dry Arabia. How original, I've never seen this one before.
And he's gonna be in command of the Abyssids now, so using the same civilization he just lost to in the previous game, whereas for B, he's going to have the French, a civilization that usually struggles against the Abyssids, although recently, courtesy of Lenok, we have seen some spectacular French performances against the Abyssids.
B, I wonder what way he wants to go with this. Like, I think the Abyssids is a little bit of a tricky one to maneuver around. We have to remember that in this specific matchup, the Abyssids are close to a 60% win rate against the French. I think where the French are falling flat is it's still that two-pronged assault of Migo Knights and maybe Archers. There's a very big maybe there. I actually think the way forward for the French is around that Holy Trinity. Like, Spears can win, but the key detail for me is going to be how he uses these Knights.
That's a key thing, right? And we have to keep in mind that B obviously really good with the micro as well. Also, terrific macro he has. So he's one of the better players when it comes to microing multiple smaller groups of knights and really getting away with a lot of chip damage every once in a while.
Let's see how he wants to approach this. I mean, it's the case of like a lot of players still, even at the highest level, are using the French the way they used to, which is me get many knights, zug zug, very strong. But it's like that. You have to look at the French Knights the way you used to, right? The way that you kind of believe that they function in the early days, which is they raid. They're not meant to be your front line, especially in this matchup.
Indeed. In fact, I'm actually wondering how heavily committed B is going to be to Knights, because, as you said, you kind of need that Holy Trinity if you want to be able to take good fights against the Abyssids. But then again, you also need a rapid eco build-up, and knowing that you are likely playing 2 TCs, as the French, Beasty might opt to go for a third one himself. So maybe B wants to match that with a third. So it remains to be seen how affordable this Holy Trinity is and how much he's going to deviate from it for the sake of going for Horsemen, so it's a little more affordable.
I like to see a few Knights, right, at least, just because it gives you the tempo aggression. I think that's important for the French, because if you're talking like eco gains, the only way you can match the Abbasids at all is if you're playing pocket ecos. Pocket ecos, for those who don't know, that's where you play into an area away from your base to gather resources. So you're detached. The risk with that, of course, is you can be raided. But one of the big advantages of the French, of course, is they're usually the best civ at aggressing mid-map, so they don't get punished for going for pocket ecos as often.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I think that a couple of Knights added at the beginning is something that we can take for granted, essentially. But recently, you see an uptake in players just going for 2 or 3 Knights at the beginning and then immediately starting to focus on the eco. And I'm actually wondering whether B is going to opt to do that, or whether he wants to go a little heavier on the Knights and really live off from those raids.
Definitely could get a lot of value out of a secondary TC build here, especially if you look to the east of his base. You've got the Deer plus the Wood line. I think that's actually a very value play, and then you kind of bridge the gap. Would also kind of create this natural defense point in the corner, right? As you start to kind of like make a layering with wood walls on the east and western front. So that might be an option. It's definitely a favorable option right now for a lot of French players, but less favorable is this. The build-up, Wheelbarrow hasn't been started yet. I hope he's going to click it about halfway. That should set him up for Wheelbarrow to be complete at the beginning of Fuel Age, or about 10 seconds in.
Yeah, you should definitely click that because he just placed the mill specifically for that reason. But yeah, here it goes a couple of seconds later than it should have been, but still, no big deal. What's a big deal is the stone mine coming in for him, something that's gonna get spotted by Beasty immediately, which now raises a question for Beasty. Is he gonna stay on 2 TCs, or is he thinking about 3?
Ah, the classic. Oh, he's being greedy? Does that mean I can be more greedy?
Yeah, wouldn't be unprecedented, I must say.
Especially as the Abbasids. I mean, I don't actually think there's another civ in the game that's more efficient at going multi-TCs.
Yep, exactly. And given the fact that we have seen 3 TCs from B in the previous game, it's very possible that Beast is also going to get some inspiration from that in a way and say, oh yeah, I can afford to go 3 TCs just like B did in the previous game.
Yeah, I think it's a bit tougher for Beasty. Like, he can go 3 TCs, but like the difference between game 1 and 2 is what B was doing with those TCs, right? We highlighted it was blocking critical game elements that the Delhi required. It's a bit tough to see that like 1-2 punch up against the French. It's more just, I get more villagers, right?
It's also the deny potential. If you go back to the previous game, Beast didn't really have the tools to deny TCs with, whereas for the French, that first knight can really box the Abbasids in, and it could limit the possible placements of that second town center. In fact, we have seen instances, I think, 2 or 3 weeks before, where a Rus player trying to go for a second town center got immediately GG'd just by a single French knight denying that spot.
Yes, I recall one of those games. I can't remember if that was a Poppy Paw game. No, it was Vortex, I think it was featured. Yes, it's amazing what you can do with the right timing and the right location. Like, just one knight, actually, I think people discredit how much damage one French knight can do. If they find villagers out on their lonesome, especially if you haven't got wheelbarrow, which, you know, at least Beasty has, good lord, the slaughter begins.
You're talking about slaughter, but one thing we're missing out on right now are the knights, actually, for this.
Oh,
And,
oh no, no, he helped him out. He needs to push the deer, push the deer.
Not
Wait,
gonna
he's
happen.
sniping them that, what? All right, B's like, thank you for the assistance. That deer is actually still very close.
I mean, that's as far as he could push it, so let's be honest, like,
Yeah.
that is the maximum amount of damage Beasty could have done there. Oh, Horseman coming in here, but once again, should be no risk to those villagers.
B, of course, isn't prepping a knight yet, so doesn't actually have any way of countering this. He wanted the quickest possible TC, which means he sacrificed gold gathering to get this timing. Just shows you how quick the Abbasids can get those first military units out.
And that's it. And as you said, B is sacrificing all military production for the sake of that second accelerated town center, and he has it completed before Beast even starts building his, so he's definitely gonna have a head start with that second TC, but it is alarming that B is playing this greedy, because this is something that could be easily punished by Beasty. I mean, he's got absolutely no army on the field.
Hold on, let me just go. Is it really that alarming that B is playing this greedy? After the game, we just let's be fair to this Linecore. B is no stranger to greed.
You gotta give him some slack, indeed. He's now dropping a Bayrex out there, but he's playing a super greedy game. Let's see if Beast is gonna match that with greed himself. He's got 105 stone in the bank, so he could be flirting with the idea of a second TC, a second additional TC that is, for a total of 3.
I just love B's dance monkey dance approach to this series. What did we highlight about Beastyqt going into this? He likes it when he gets to set the tempo and you have to like dance to his tune. But in game 1, B with his greed forced Beasty to react. And now once again, with this rush TC, he's trying to force Beasty to react.
And a key thing here is predictability, because it's a relatively natural move from the Abbasids to react to a second French TC with possibly 3 TCs on their own if the French player is not fielding a lot of army. So B probably predicted this happening, and I'm actually very curious what his follow-up is to this one, because so far Beasty has done the textbook responses, whereas for B, we know that he can often pull some surprising moves, some unexpected moves, and I think... Ooh.
How about this for unexpected? How often do you see that icon on the left side?
Professional scouts. Combo it up with survival techniques. Imagine that.
This is unexpected. It's unexpected. Like, we don't see it. I think this is the second time we've seen it today. And both occurrences have been from this player. First with the Delhi, which he got it for free, and now with the French that get that 30% discount.
But yeah, in the first instance, it was a free tech with the Delhi, so you just shrug it off and say, oh yeah, it was free, why not use it? But this time around, this is deliberate, and this is what I was really interested in, because, as I said, Beasty played a predictable game here so far.
Oh, no. He's blocking both the deer. All right, rip. Not as much value coming out anymore.
I don't know. I actually disagree. Sure think he won't be able to yoink the opponent's deer, but given the fact that Beasty had horsemen and camel archers on the field, that probably wasn't realistic anyways. I think the real secret is gonna be the combination of professional scouts with survival techniques. Because survival techniques is going to skyrocket your food economy from those, and it could actually be very reminiscent to boar getter rates that you are getting from the deer with that.
That's true. I think it's just like usually we've seen the arguments around pro scouts like, you know, if you're getting 2 deer stacks, but you already have 1 for free on top of the TC. Maybe the argument you could make for this is by going for pro scouts, it means that he can collect the deer, bring them back to the safety of a TC, and it means he doesn't have to invest in more defenses. Instead, he can divert those resources into more aggression with these knights.
I think it could also be to accelerate timings a little bit. This is a very timing sensitive matchup. the 15, 16 minute mark is where the Abbasids come online. If you can undercut that timing, that could be immensely valuable and might justify the investment of Pro Scouts.
I like how B is just trying to next level brain this. He's like, oh, he's gonna garrison. No. It's that moment where you kind of overthink it. You're like, he's definitely noticed he's gonna garrison. So missed opportunity for B to probably snipe a villager there. Does matter. It's very difficult. I love what Beasty's done here. This is probably one of the most unfortunate spawns for a French player to be up against when both deer stacks are against the edge of the map like this.
Yeah, and those are some very favorable TC spots for Beasty. Both of those are great. Ooh, one villager gets picked off. Yoink!
Yoink! Hello! I'm still going to get value because it seems that your horsemen and camel archers are not guarding the vital resource. Beasty right now is scratching his head and wondering why he's seeing pro scouts in August of 2022. Because you're up against B, my friend. He doesn't go textbook. He goes off script.
And now look at that TC, KP. What's left right next to it? Nothing in the immediate vicinity. That TC was meant to take the hunt, and now the hunt is gone. Oh my goodness.
Even if he kills the scouts, it's still a catastrophe.
Yeah.
He has to race through these carcasses before the scouts come back.
It's such a great idea because we are seeing the Abbasids expand towards the hunt more and more and less towards the berries because they will still need a meal next to the berries. Might as well just go with the TC on the hunt. And this is something that has been responded to very nicely by B. Just yoinking the hunt away from the TC, making those TCs much worse than they could possibly have been.
I love how innovative B is. You know, like I criticized it a little. I was a doubter, I'll admit that, at the Pro Scouts play. But someone I forgot that he remembered is he has heavily armored units that can dive with these scouts and thus draw the TC fire. Brilliant play by B. And now Beasty at risk of starving in a corner. And he knew he was going to be corner playing because he's up against the French.
Oh, such a great way to play this one for B. I really love this, and behind this one he's also increasing his knight numbers, and let's not sleep on that. Up to 9 knights he is. Finally a chance to do a lot of damage with on the lumberjacks.
Airlock. What's this villager doing? Dying! And he's in again, and this is a little bit worrisome because BC, he keeps trying to go on the aggressive with his own cavalry, but B is just one step ahead, a little bit quicker to pinch here. And although the spearmen are here to buffer him away, keep in mind he got past the palisades, and it's an open spread buffet that he can munch upon.
Ooh, some damage being done on the eco of B as well, but we have some spearmen back at home, some knights as well. Couple of casualties will be there for B, but it's not a terrific amount of villagers lost. It's more about the idle time.
And he has got the response to the spearmen. Not enough camel archers here to deter him fully. Knights in the meantime aren't really getting to do much, but they're idling a big chunk of BC's military force, and with enough ground you can actually gain enough length between you and the aggressors, or the chasers rather, that you can snipe eco. And you're already seeing the idle eco that Beasty's suffering every time these knights come by.
And keep in mind that Beasty, he's desperate for food. He just depleted his first batch of hunt here at the edge of the map, and this is something that B knows. He knows that it is the food eco he needs to hit with these knights, and he's just idling so much. The question is whether this is sufficient or not, because Beasty will still beat him to castle, it seems.
B isn't even thinking about it yet, but let's keep in mind that Beasty, he can't speed up his castle age. So if B starts saving now, he could actually still beat him to the punchline. We'll have to see if he sniffs it out. His knights should just circle out the base. There's no scout there, so he won't see the tech up occurring in the Abbasid base.
Yeah, but he can feel it, although there's a knight here. This knight might actually spot this one. Keep in mind, folks, you can see the wing being built on the House of Wisdom. So if you get close to it with this knight, you can spot the age up coming from Beasty.
Looks like he has different targets in mind, though. He's circling towards that back TC, just trying to idle eco again. Unfortunate that he didn't cycle in towards the primary. That info would have been crucial here, because it means that now B is doubling down on his feudal army. However, considering how important feudal is in the current meta, maybe not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, Beasty can't accelerate his castle age timing, so a timing push is an option here for B, and this is something that he's prepping for. And if there is a single civilization that's fine staying in feudal a little longer, that's likely the French.
Definitely can contest, especially with this main Raw Knight starting to stockpile up. Speaking of which, taking a decent fight, as it looks like Beast is asleep at the wheel. Can't even turn around to fight back. Not that you'd want to up against these Knights.
Indeed, now Archer's moving out as well. 38 army against 39, though. The key danger here for B is that he kind of needs to make a timing push happen, but his army seems too small for that, to be honest, KP. And he's also facing defensive towers, not just flat-out military units from Beasty.
Well, the good news for him is that Beasty doesn't have a way of trading easily with his archers because of the knights, right? Like, you can body block the horsemen, and usually when you see these wraparounds that succeed against archer balls, it requires 20+ horsemen. Beasty stopped at 10, made that 11 in fact. So I think he's a little bit lackluster in that regard, but B, that this is very risky to try and make this play work, especially considering the tech up is about to complete any second.
Indeed, it's kind of now or never here for B, but I don't think that he has this killer power here with the army, especially because Beasty, ooh, he's actually coming in.
Flash. The spearmen weren't in position here. 1-2 knights are going to get pinched. Archers and spears will stand their ground. The phalanx spears should start to overwhelm, but keep in mind, all the horsemen are already gone, so the archers are now unanswered. It feels like Beasty's army could get traded out before the tech ups come through, especially with a double down and more troops arriving for the French.
Exactly, most archers are gone though, those spearmen are doing work with the phalanx, but indeed, Beasty is taking this fight without the castle age upgrades, could be a lot better. In fact, it is a disaster right now for Beasty, he's losing massive numbers here.
Yeah, just look at the difference. 12 military popcat versus 31. And also Beasty now transitioning to men-at-arms and lancers. Now, lancers is the key detail to hone in on here. Up against the French, these French Royal Knights, if they charge, can actually match your damage output for the beginning of the fights. It's a very dangerous play by Beasty.
It is a dangerous play, but he kind of has to make it because he's struggling for food. And you see, he has to fight for these berries, towers, almost lit ablaze, fortifications actually coming in.
It's coming in clutch. It's such a big deal. Now you can't torch it down. B's probably going to have to back away, but it looks like he has conviction. He's going to commit to this, but it means extra losses in the heavy knight department, and 240 resources a pop is nothing to turn your nose up at.
Exactly, that's a lot of pain over here. Those fortifications coming in clutch, but B's gonna stick to it. He knows he needs to press on because Beasty is starving, and starve he does. Look at that. The food bank for Beasty, terrible.
Stagnating. He has got the western berries, but they must be half done, if not more. A few villages also being sacrificed, but a lot being sacrificed by B to keep this assault going. And you can see it's down to 3 berry patches remain. I would expect maybe 500 food back there. At that point, Beasty's going to be forced into a farm transition, and it is already underway.
This is a vulnerability that B can exploit, but as you said, he has taken massive casualties there. Fortifications really coming in clutch. And folks, not something that you see every day, but that is something that is going to skyrocket the fire armor of your towers and all buildings, actually. And that's massive. Makes it much more resistant to knights.
Especially when every unit at this stage is probably doing about 13 fire damage, so you're taking away almost half of the 5 fire armor. But right now, they can only fire upon the units coming out. They can't clash the outpost. They need to fight the premium army that Beasty's starting to push. And he's also now starting to mix in camel riders. This might be the moment where B has to back off. He does so from a position of weakness. Numbers look good, but the coming minutes don't.
I'm just now realizing, KP, it's even worse for B here. He's fighting against the Abbasids with more fire armor. Those towers are impossible to destroy.
True, right? The Golden Age, is it an extra 2 or is it 3? I think it's 2.
It's a lot of fire armor. Those knights are barely doing anything against the tower, and he has committed so much to destroying those and gained little in the end.
Oh, man, and it's rough. It's actually easy to forget about that. Like, I mean, I'm sure someone like B is kind of aware of it. He felt like he needed to go, but even if you think in the moment, like maybe at first he doesn't even realize that, because I think everyone always focuses on everything else about the Golden Ages, right? The gathering rates, the research speed, the production. It's very easy to glaze over the extra 5 fire armor you get, which means that if you're doing 13 torch damage, only 3 damage is going through against a 1750 HP structure.
And now look at what Beasty is doing. He's fortifying his base. Stone walls on the left side. Walls also being built on the right side, while a keep is being placed in the middle. Very well fortified base. Makes it almost impossible for B to break into his base, as B also begins his progress towards Castle Age with the Royal Institute.
Oh, this could get ugly quickly. Beasty's prepping military academy. I don't know if he cancelled it or just completed. It looks like it did complete, and this is important. That increased production speed, especially with the units that he's starting to push. This means that you can compete with the French. And the French, right now, their only choice, you can see what B is doing. He needs to get the stone together for a castle because he realizes what's coming.
But what are you gonna do with your keep? That's the big question, right? You kind of are forced to just sit it back at home, but from that point on, you are the defender. And with the French, you want to be the aggressor, but it's no longer an option for B. Now he's up to Castle Age. He's going to have access to Royal Bloodlines, but it takes so much time to research, and this is a big window for Beast to exploit.
Speaking of keeps, Beasty's already gone for a defensive keep in zone. I actually like this for B though, because there's no trebs in play. This keep, maybe it doesn't defend everything, but remember what you get as the French. It's that discount. And I think that's what's remarkable, is how quickly you return the cost of the keep in discounts, especially on nights.
And here he goes. Beasty, he knows that B is right now weakened. He just reached Castle Age. This is a window for him.
This stone, he hasn't gathered enough yet.
Yeah. And
He
the
went greedy with
Mangonel.
the monastery
He
as
won't see the
well.
Mangonel, KP.
Ooh, the wraparound though. This is looking spicy. Beasty not looking, he can't see it right now. Pinch, a little bit too late. Gets enough strikes in, but not willing to commit to finish off the Mango. So it will get decent value as it takes out a third of the archers.
Oh, but the trade's still favorable. He took down the Mangonel, and now he can charge it on the Man-at-Arms. This is actually getting better and better for B here, because he was able to buffer up the first assault.
And let's keep in mind, these are upgraded knights, right? They're up in Castle Age form. Veteran Royal Knights do a lot of damage here, whether they get the charge off or not. And let's remember what's coming down the line. B, his plan here will probably be to escalate into a keep, get the discounts on the stables, and in the next 2 to 3 minutes, prep Royal Bloodlines.
Yeah, that's the key thing here. Part of the reason why Beasty is now prepping Camel Riders here. Also doing quite a lot of work when it comes to raiding. Something that B is struggling with quite a lot. His eco is being torn apart from multiple directions.
Yeah, it is frustrating, but credit where credit is due. B done a great job of setting up farms. I think that's usually a difficult transition for the French, but he got a lot of value out of that raid in. Sure, it looked like bad trades, especially when he tried to torch down buildings specifically. But I think the thing to focus on here is that he was keeping Beasty contained even when Castle Age arrived.
That's a big thing, indeed. And he also buffered up his farm transition. So now his eco is well set up. He's still at 110 villagers, and Royal Bloodlines is already on the way. This is not as bad as it looks, I feel, for B.
And then keep in mind, Beasty would be favored on this map by default. Like, I just give it over to him. I think most people agree he's kind of the king of Dry Arabia. An open map where he can draw his opponent to the back of his base. Sounds like pristine Beasty territory, but B is not letting him have that for free. Just as many knights coming out, just as much aggression across the map.
Still, though, Beasty's fortified back at home, and I'm struggling to see where B could do damage here. Maybe excluding stopping this castle, but even that feels like a long shot.
That's the thing, the pocket egos are just being guarded by these keeps, so you can't even easily dive in there either. And, well, yes, that won't be working today, B. Very ambitious attempt.
You gotta believe, KP. You gotta believe. Everyone can have a dream.
I don't believe. It's delusion at this point. Beasty's already up to 3 of the relics, as the Abbasids. Gotta give him credit. I love how many Abbasid players have started to prioritize this in their builds. They realized that they were missing out on Infinite Gold Trick on a Civ that loves late game, so they've started to make room in their build orders to go for the relics.
And not just the relics, but the gold mines as well. B is fortifying all those neutral gold mines in the middle of the map with keeps, making it very difficult for B to access any gold. In fact, the only gold mine that B has access to is gonna be at the back of his base.
And that's worrisome considering one of the premium plays available to the French. In fact, anything premium they want to do involves gold, whether it's Knights or Arbor the Trie, both which would be great to have right now. Right now, though, you are on the run, on the lam here. 30 plus villagers idle in the base. B, in fact, is that 30 or more? That might just be like 35.
There's something else as well.
Nope. No, that's not happening today.
I mean, Beasty's already pressing onto this one, and the scary detail is still in there.
I mean, he's being pushed on multiple angles right now. He hasn't made a transition. B tried to go to the Arbor of the Trees, but it's too late. It's too slow. Beasty is reaching an escalation point, and the panic sets in. B, with what is an aggressive keep to defend this area, is going to lose a lot of villagers in the process.
But he desperately needs gold. That's the key thing. He's losing so many villagers for this one. Little does he know that Beasty is on the way to Imperial.
Wow, this is going to be a problem, Beasty. He already has the military lead. He has the tempo aggression. He's about to have the tech up advantage again. B, also now lacking the resources we mentioned, specifically gold, prevents him from having anywhere reacting. We could be moments away from a GG.
Oh, this is looking so bad. Yeah, I mean, he's killing him in Castle. When Beasty reaches Imperial, Beast's gonna have no tools to stop him. 44 army against 26, and Beast is yet to reach Imperial.
Yeah, this is like having a piano dropped on top of you, you somehow surviving, and just as you think you're about to recover, a dumpster truck is dropped on top of you. That's what this Imperial Age is going to be. Not only that, let's keep in mind, Beasty, what do you love to do? What do you keep seeing today? Sacred sites, they're all captured. Pressure after pressure on B, and you have to really question, where can you recover this game?
And game number 3, really, that's the only option. Like, nowhere left to go, nowhere left to hide. Pop cap against 100 population, B 1 age behind, no army, struggling with eco. Beasty's got this game, I feel.
You've lost control. The goal here was to contain Beasty, but when I look at the map, I see only one player contained, and he is in the blue. Appropriate, he's playing the French, because he might be yelling Sacred Blue here. Another raid in, no clear answer. Eco at risk of being doubled up by the Abbasses. Just look at the villager count.
And the thing is that Beasty is stripping the map barren of resources. Even if B finds a way to break out of his base, it's gonna be too late. There's gonna be nothing left for him on this map.
Well, this was maybe his biggest fear. You know, we highlighted that he doesn't like to play the default maps. In fact, he prioritizes them to be bans. Beasty, this has got to be his signature map right now. You know, the difference between game 1 and game 2 is apparent. B had a way of clearly leveraging the map to his advantage. Beasty, however, had a way of still getting his greed. I mean, this just shows you the power of the Abbasids and the power of Beasty here on Dry Arabia.
Yeah, this was a really good game for Beasty. Textbook gameplay, went for a greedy approach of 3 TCs, but he never really wavered when the Knights broke into his base. And from that point on, as you said, he was able to leverage every single small mistake that B has made, and now he's just pressing on relentlessly. Not much of a chance left here for B.
Like, B's got that last gold mine at the back, and then if he can't make something happen, it's over. I think he knows that as well. Like, he's got one good assault on him. Upside is right now, apparently the guards are sleeping, so Bombas can maybe snipe, but the Knights going in. They're going to be pinched quickly. I don't know if I'd say that's worthwhile, considering how much gold BC's got to work with, and you haven't.
I agree. Oh, especially if you slay the villagers, and that's it indeed.
Man, B, from game 1 to game 2, you can see how fast it goes both ways. Beasty was relentless here on Dry Arabia. We'll even up the score, and I'm happy to say we are getting some length to this.